The sky burned orange and red as the strange object tore through Earth's atmosphere. It wasn't a meteor. It moved too strangely, sometimes slowing, sometimes speeding up. The object crashed into a remote forest in Montana with a sound like thunder. Kate Summers looked up from her computer when her phone buzzed. She had been working late at the NASA Research Center. The message was clear and urgent. Unknown craft crash. Possible extraterrestrial origin. Your expertise needed immediately. Kate grabbed her emergency kit and ran to the helicopter pad. Within an hour, she was flying over tall pine trees toward a column of smoke rising in the distance. "We've got military securing the area," the pilot told her. "Whatever it is, it's big." The helicopter landed in a clearing half a mile from the crash. Kate met Alan right there. He was a former military technician now working as a consultant. His face was serious as they walked toward the site. "They're saying it's not one of ours," Alan said. "Not Russian, not Chinese, not anyone's." Kate felt her heart beat faster. "You mean?" "Yeah, we might have visitors." They reached the edge of a newly formed crater. The trees around it were flattened or burning. In the center sat a ship unlike anything Kate had ever seen. It was about the size of a small airplane but shaped like a teardrop. Its surface was dark metal with strange patterns that seemed to shift color when viewed from different angles. "It's beautiful," Kate whispered. Military personnel had formed a perimeter around the craft. Scientists in hazmat suits were taking readings. One of them waved Kate and Alan forward. "Dr. Summers, Mr. Wright, we need you. There's a way in and there's something alive inside." Kate and Alan put on protective gear and followed the scientist to a crack in the ship's hull. The metal had split open during the crash. They climbed carefully through the opening. Inside, the air was breathable but smelled strange, like cinnamon and metal. Soft blue lights flickered along curved walls. The ship's interior seemed larger than its outside suggested. "Over here," someone called. They moved toward the voice and found three beings slumped in what looked like control chairs. The aliens were humanoid but clearly not human. They had gray-blue skin, large eyes, and six-fingered hands. All three were injured, with a thick purple fluid leaking from their wounds. One of the aliens opened its eyes and looked at Kate. It raised a shaky hand and touched a device on its wrist. A soft humming filled the air, and then words came from somewhere in the room, translated but mechanical sounding. "We are Meridani. We come seeking refuge." Kate stepped forward. "You're safe now. We can help you." The alien's large eyes blinked slowly. "No time. The Vorax hunt us. They destroy all who oppose." "The Vorax?" Alan asked. "Who are they?" "Empire. Conquerors." The alien coughed, purple fluid speckling its lips. "They will find you, eventually. Our ship, take it. Learn from it. Prepare." Kate moved closer. "We'll get medical help, just hold on." The alien shook its head. "Too late for us. Ship is yours now, a gift and a warning." The second alien stirred and spoke in its native language. The first alien translated. "Core damaged in flight, weapons depleted, but hull technology still intact. Materials beyond your science." Alan looked around at the advanced technology. "We can learn from this. We can—" "Little time," the alien interrupted. "Vorax are coming. Not today. Not tomorrow. But they follow where Meridani flee. Always." The third alien made a sound like a moan, then went still. The translator alien's breathing became labored. "Our knowledge is in the ship's systems. Find it. Use it. Become stronger than we were." Government officials arrived and set up lights around the ship. They brought in medical experts, but it was too late. Within hours, all three aliens had died despite desperate efforts to save them. Kate stood outside the ship as dawn broke. The military had established a secure perimeter, and trucks were arriving with equipment to build a temporary research facility. 6 months passed since the alien ship crashed in Montana. The government built a large facility around it. High walls and tight security kept the public away. Inside, teams of scientists worked day and night to understand the strange technology. Doug Peterson ran his hand through his messy brown hair as he stared at the ship's engine. As lead scientist on the project, he had spent countless hours trying to figure out how it worked. The principles seemed to break the laws of physics as humans understood them. "Any progress?" asked Olivia Garcia, walking up beside him. She was the team's systems analyst, brilliant with computers and electrical systems. "Not much," Doug sighed. "This isn't like any engine I've ever seen. It doesn't burn fuel. It doesn't use nuclear power. It's something else entirely." Olivia nodded and opened her laptop. "I've been mapping the power flow routes. Look at this." She showed Doug a diagram of glowing lines that spread throughout the ship like veins in a body. "The power seems to come from this central core." She pointed to a damaged sphere in the middle of the ship. "But it's completely dead now." Doug walked over to the core. It was about the size of a car, made of a material that seemed both solid and fluid at the same time. Inside were complex structures that no one had been able to identify. "What if we try to jumpstart it?" Doug suggested. "We could connect it to our own power grid." "That's risky," Olivia said. "We don't know how much power it needs or how it will react." But they both knew they needed a breakthrough. After getting approval from their supervisors, they carefully connected the alien core to their power generators. Other scientists and engineers gathered around to watch. "Start with low power," Doug instructed. 10%. A technician turned a dial. Lights on their equipment flickered. The alien core remained dark. 20%, Doug called. Still nothing. 50%. The core began to hum softly. Faint lights appeared within its structure. "It's working," Olivia exclaimed. "Let's try 75%. As more power flowed in, the core glowed brighter. Strange symbols lit up on its surface. The whole ship seemed to come alive, with lights turning on in various sections. "This is amazing," Doug said, taking readings with his instruments. "The core is actually multiplying the energy we're feeding it. It's creating more power than we're putting in." Suddenly, a loud beeping sound came from another part of the ship. Everyone froze. "What is that?" someone asked. Olivia rushed to her. "Computer. Something's been activated. There's a signal being broadcast from the ship." In the control room, Admiral Susan Clark was immediately notified. She rushed to the research area, her face stern. "Shut it down," she ordered. "Now!" The technicians disconnected the power. The core slowly faded back to darkness, but the beeping continued for another minute before stopping. "What happened?" Admiral Clark demanded. "We activated a beacon," Olivia explained, her voice shaking slightly. The ship was broadcasting a signal into space. The room fell silent as everyone understood what this meant. "A distress signal," Admiral Clark said finally. "You just told every alien out there exactly where we are." The next day, all research priorities changed. Admiral Clark called a meeting with all team leaders. "The Meridani warned us about these Forax," she said. "Now we may have announced our presence to them. We need to focus on defense. Forget about understanding their propulsion system for now. Find any weapons technology on that ship." Doug and Olivia were assigned to study the ship's hull. It was made of a material unlike any metal on Earth. Tests showed it could absorb massive amounts of energy without melting. "This could be useful for shields," Doug said, examining a sample under a microscope. In another lab, technicians discovered what might be weapon ports on the ship's exterior. Though damaged, they contained technology that seemed designed to direct energy in concentrated beams. As everyone worked with new urgency, Olivia couldn't help but worry. "How long do you think we have?" she asked Doug quietly one night. "If someone heard that signal, how long before they get here?" Doug looked up at the ceiling, thinking about the vast emptiness of space. "I don't know," he admitted. "But we better make every day count." Neither of them knew that across the solar system, advanced sensors on a secret space telescope had already detected movement. Something was coming toward Earth. Alan joined her, his face tired but excited. "They're bringing in specialists from around the world. We're going to learn everything we can about this ship." Kate nodded. looking at the alien vessel gleaming in the morning light. They gave us their ship as their final act. We owe it to them to use it well. Neither of them knew that this was just the beginning. The broken ship would change everything for humanity. And somewhere in the darkness of space, the Vorax were already on their way. A year passed since the alien ship crashed. The world had changed. Countries that once fought each other now worked together. Everyone knew about the aliens. Everyone knew about the danger coming from space. The research facility around the alien ship had grown into a small city. Scientists from all over the world lived and worked there. Military bases surrounded it, with new weapons designed based on what they learned from the ship. Frank Williams stood in his lab, holding a small piece of the ship's hull. He was an engineer with 20 years of experience, but this material still amazed him. It was lighter than aluminum but stronger than steel, and it had another special quality. "Watch this," Frank said to his assistant. He placed the metal piece on a table and pointed a laser at it. The red beam hit the material and seemed to disappear. "Where did the energy go?" the assistant asked. Frank smiled. "It didn't just block the laser, it absorbed the energy." He picked up the metal piece. It was slightly warmer than before. "This material can take in energy and hold it. It could be the key to building better shields for Earth." Across the facility, in a dark room filled with computers, Heather Robinson rubbed her tired eyes. For months she had been trying to read and understand the alien ship's damaged database. Most of it was corrupted, but she found pieces of information about the Vorax. "They're not just one alien race," she told the group of officials sitting around her. "The Vorax is an empire made up of many different species. They conquer planets and force the people to join their military." She showed them images of different alien species and star maps. "They control at least 30 star systems that we know of. And according to the Meridani data, they don't accept surrender. They either take what they want or destroy everything." "What about their technology?" a general asked. "How does it compare to what we have now?" Heather took a deep breath. "Based on what I've found, they're at least 200 years ahead of us. Their ships can travel faster than light. They have weapons that can destroy entire cities with one shot." The room grew quiet. No one needed to say what everyone was thinking. Earth was in trouble. Later that evening, Admiral Clark called a meeting with all department heads. Her face was grim. "Our deep space monitoring station has detected multiple objects moving toward our solar system," she announced. "Based on their speed and trajectory, they're not natural objects. They're ships." On a large screen, she showed them images of distant lights moving against the blackness of space. "How long do we have?" Doug Peterson asked, his voice steady despite his fear. "At their current speed, about 2 months before they reach Earth," Admiral Clark replied. The news spread quickly through the facility. Everyone worked harder, slept less. Time was running out. Frank's team made progress turning the alien hull material into protective shields. They covered important buildings and military bases with it, but they knew it wouldn't be enough against the Vorax weapons. Heather continued digging through the alien database. One night, she found something important: details about the Vorax fleet. "They always send 7 ships," she told Admiral Clark. 6 warships and 1 command ship. The command ship controls the others. "So if we could somehow take out the command ship," Admiral Clark began. "The others might be easier to defeat," Heather finished, but no one knew how to defeat even 1 advanced alien ship, let alone 7. In his lab, Doug Peterson stared at the alien core. There was something about it they were missing. The Meridani had used it for something important, not just to power the ship. He called Olivia Garcia. "I think we've been looking at this all wrong," he said. "This isn't just an engine. Look at how it's connected to every part of the ship, especially the hull." 6 weeks remained until the Vorax ships would reach Earth. The research facility buzzed with activity day and night. Scientists and engineers worked in shifts, trying to unlock more secrets from the alien vessel before time ran out. Paul Martinez stared at the damaged core of the ship, rubbing his tired eyes. As a physicist, He had spent most of his career studying energy and matter. But this alien technology challenged everything he knew. "There's something we're missing," he muttered to himself. He looked again at the core's strange inner structure. It wasn't made of solid materials like Earth engines. Instead, it contained rings of unknown metals arranged in complex patterns around an empty center. Suddenly, an idea struck him. He rushed to find Judy Baker, the facility's expert on quantum computing. "Judy, what if this isn't a conventional power source at all?" Paul asked when he found her in the cafeteria. "What if it's not generating energy, but pulling it from somewhere else?" Judy put down her coffee, interested. "Like what? A battery?" "No, I think it's more complex. Look at these patterns." Paul showed her photos of the core on his tablet. "They remind me of quantum field equations. What if this device creates a fold in dimensions to access energy from subspace?" Judy's eyes widened. That would explain why the ship could travel so far without carrying massive fuel tanks. Together, they spent the next 3 days running tests on the core. They confirmed that the damaged device was designed to create a small tear in the fabric of space-time, allowing it to draw virtually unlimited energy from another dimension. "But we can't fix it," Paul said with disappointment. "We don't have the materials or knowledge to repair the dimensional fold generator. Maybe we don't need to use it exactly as the Meridani did," Judy suggested. She pulled up the schematics of the entire ship. "Frank discovered that the hull absorbs energy, right? What if we could modify the connection between the core and hull?" They brought their idea to Doug Peterson and Olivia Garcia. Soon the four of them developed a new theory. The ship's damaged core could be partially repaired and reconfigured to work with the energy-absorbing hull. "Instead of just absorbing energy, we could amplify it and redirect it," Olivia explained when they presented their plan to Admiral Clark. "We could turn the entire ship into one massive energy weapon." "Would it work against the Vorax ships?" Admiral Clark asked. "In theory, yes," Paul said. "If they attack us with energy weapons, we could absorb that energy, multiply it through the modified core, and send it back at them with much greater force." Admiral Clark looked skeptical. "That's a big if. And you're talking about rebuilding alien technology we barely understand." "It's a long shot," Doug admitted. "But our conventional weapons won't even scratch their ships based on what we know about Vorax technology." After considering their options, Admiral Clark gave the go-ahead. "You have 4 weeks to make this work. Every resource you need is yours." The project was massive. Hundreds of people worked to rebuild the core and modify the hull structure. They called their weapon Phoenix because they hoped it would rise from the ashes of the broken alien ship. The work was difficult and dangerous. 2 scientists were injured when a section of the hull overloaded during a test. Progress seemed too slow. 3 weeks before the Vorax arrival, they tested the partially completed Phoenix for the first time. The results were disappointing. The core could absorb small amounts of energy from the hull but couldn't amplify it as they had hoped. "We're missing something," Paul said, staring at the failed test results. That night, he couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the core's original purpose. If it was designed to open a tear in space-time, maybe they needed to create a small tear first, then use that to amplify the energy. The next morning, he rushed to the facility with a new idea. "We've been trying to replace the fold generators function with our technology," he told the team. "But what if we just need to jumpstart it?" They had less than 3 weeks to test his theory, and somewhere in space, 7 Vorax warships continued their approach toward Earth. Olivia studied the diagrams. "You're right. It's like the whole ship is one big system." Neither of them knew it yet, but they were close to a discovery that would change everything, and they had less than 2 months to figure it out before the Vorax arrived. In the night sky above Earth, 7 distant lights grew brighter each day. The storm was coming. The 7 Vorax warships entered the solar system, passing Neptune's orbit. They moved in a perfect V formation. On Earth, every telescope and satellite focused on them. The ships were massive, each one bigger than the largest aircraft carrier. Their surfaces gleamed with a dark metal similar to the Meridani ship. General Chris Bennett stood in the Global Defense Command Center, watching the alien fleet on a large screen. Military leaders from many countries stood with him. They had spent months preparing Earth's defenses, but everyone knew it might not be enough. "They're slowing down," an officer reported, moving into position near Jupiter. A few minutes later, a message came through on all radio frequencies. The voice was deep and mechanical, speaking perfect English. "People of Earth. We are the Vorax. Imperium. We know you possess Meridani technology. Surrender it immediately along with any information you have gathered from it. Comply and we will spare your planet. Resist and we will reduce your cities to ash. You have 6 Earth hours to respond." General Bennett sent the prepared response, asking for more time to discuss the demand. The Vorax commander agreed to wait. 12 hours instead of 6. It was a small victory, buying precious time for the Phoenix project. At the research facility, the alien ship had been completely transformed. Its sleek shape remained, but now it bristled with new equipment. Inside, the core glowed with faint blue light. Paul Martinez's theory had worked partially. They had managed to create a tiny fold in spacetime, enough to start the core functioning at 10% capacity. "It's not enough," Paul told Admiral Clark. "At this level, we could maybe disable one of their smaller ships, but not the whole fleet." "What do we need to make it work fully?" the Admiral asked. "More energy," Judy Baker answered. "A massive amount to fully activate the fold generator." Linda Foster, an engineer who had been quiet during most meetings, suddenly spoke up. "What about nuclear energy? If we detonate nuclear weapons near the Phoenix, could it absorb that energy?" The room fell silent as everyone considered this dangerous idea. "It might work," Paul said slowly. "But we'd need to get the Phoenix into space first, and the timing would have to be perfect." Admiral Clark made a quick decision. "Let's do it. We'll launch the Phoenix on our biggest rocket and position it between Earth and the Vorax fleet." The next 10 hours were a blur of activity. The Phoenix was carefully loaded onto a massive rocket. Scientists made final adjustments to ensure it could absorb the nuclear energy without being destroyed. Just as preparations were complete, alarming news arrived from the Mars colony. The Vorax had destroyed the human outpost there with a single energy blast from one of their smaller ships. It was a demonstration of power and a warning. "They're not waiting for our answer," General Bennett said grimly. "They're showing us what happens if we resist." The Phoenix launched 2 hours later, racing toward a position near the moon. Meanwhile, a military spacecraft carried 3 nuclear warheads to a precisely calculated position. On the command ship, General Bennett issued the order: "Send 3 fighter craft toward Jupiter. Make it look like they're gathering information but are trying to stay hidden." The small fighters approached Jupiter, where a Vorax scout ship broke formation to investigate. Just as planned, the scout ship followed the fighters as they retreated toward the position where the Phoenix waited. "Now," ordered General Bennett. The fighters suddenly accelerated away. The nuclear warheads detonated in sequence near the Phoenix. Blinding light filled space as the massive energy washed over the modified alien ship. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Phoenix began to glow. The energy-absorbing hull took in the nuclear blast. The destruction of the Vorax scout ship sent ripples of excitement through Earth's defense forces. For the first time since learning about the alien threat, there was real hope. The Phoenix weapon had worked, even if only partially. The remaining 6 Vorax ships pulled back to the far side of Jupiter. They stayed in tight formation, clearly reassessing their strategy. This unexpected retreat gave Earth precious time. "They didn't expect resistance," said Admiral Clark during an emergency meeting. "But they'll adapt quickly. We need to improve the Phoenix before they attack again." Project Director Sam Johnson stood up, showing new designs on the main screen. "We've learned a lot from the first test. The Phoenix absorbed more energy than we predicted, which is good news. With some modifications, we might be able to handle even more power." "How long will the improvements take?" asked a government official. Sam looked tired but determined. "Normally months. But we don't have months. I've organized 3 teams working in 8-hour shifts. The facility will run 24 hours a day. We'll have the improvements ready in 2 weeks. Everyone knew that 2 weeks might not be enough. The Vorax could attack at any moment, but it was their best option. Back at the research center, engineers swarmed over the damaged Phoenix, which had been retrieved after the test. The weapon had survived the nuclear blast but showed signs of strain. Sections of the hull had nearly melted from the energy flowing through it. Sam inspected the damage with his team leads. We need to reinforce these connection points. The energy flow wasn't smooth enough. Frank Williams, who had studied the hull material, suggested a new approach. What if we reshape the entire flow pattern? The Meridani designed this ship for space travel, not as a weapon. We could rearrange the internal structure to better channel energy. They implemented Frank's ideas, along with dozens of other improvements. Workers hardly slept, grabbing short naps between shifts. Everyone understood what was at stake. Meanwhile, Intelligence Officer Natalie White made a breakthrough in understanding the Vorax. After weeks of analyzing the Meridani data, she discovered important information about the alien fleet. The Vorax. Ships have a centralized command structure, she explained to military leaders. The largest ship at the center of their formation controls all the others. It sends constant signals to coordinate their movements and weapons. So it's like a queen bee, General Bennett said. If we take out the command ship, the others might become disorganized or even non-functional, Natalie confirmed. At least temporarily. This insight changed their strategy. Instead of trying to defeat all 7 ships, they could focus on the command vessel, but they would need a more powerful version of the Phoenix to take down such a large target. Days passed. The Vorax remained in position, occasionally sending small probes toward Earth that were easily destroyed by conventional weapons. They seemed to be studying human defenses without risking their main ships. Work on the Phoenix continued around the clock. The weapon's core now glowed brighter, its space-time fold more stable. The engineers had improved on the original Meridani design, in ways the aliens might never have imagined. It's strange, Paul Martinez said one night as he worked with Judy Baker on the core controls. We've had to become experts on technology we barely understand, and now we're changing it, improving it. That's what humans do, Judy replied. We adapt, we innovate. The Meridani gave us a starting point, but what we're creating is uniquely ours. By the end of the 2nd week, the Phoenix was ready for another test. It now incorporated new materials developed on Earth, computer systems that could react faster than the original alien controls, and a modified energy distribution network. Sam Johnson looked at the finished weapon with pride and anxiety. It's the best we can do with the time we have. Let's hope it's enough. That night, sensors detected movement. The Vorax fleet was on the move again, heading toward Earth. The waiting was over. The real battle was about to begin. Handling it to the core. The space-time fold expanded, multiplying the power. A beam of intense blue-white energy shot out from the Phoenix, striking the pursuing Vorax scout ship. The alien vessel's shields flared briefly before failing. Then the ship itself broke apart, exploding into fragments. For the first time, humanity had destroyed a Vorax vessel. But it was just one scout ship. 6 larger warships remained, and they were now fully aware of Earth's defiance. The Vorax fleet moved toward Earth in perfect formation. 6 warships surrounded the massive command vessel. Their dark hulls reflected little light, making them look like moving shadows against the stars. Earth's defense forces watched with growing fear as the alien ships passed the moon's orbit. In the Global Command Center, screens showed the positions of all military units. Fighter jets waited on runways. Missile batteries pointed at the sky. Submarines hid beneath the oceans, ready to launch their weapons. But everyone knew these conventional forces would have little effect on the advanced alien ships. Earth's real hope lay with the Phoenix now positioned in orbit. The modified alien vessel looked small compared to the approaching Vorax ships. Its energy-absorbing hull had been reinforced and redesigned. Inside, the core pulsed with blue light, its space-time, fold stable but still not at full power. Captain Ryan Brooks sat in the newly built control center inside the Phoenix. He and his crew of 12 had trained intensely for this moment, though no amount of training could fully prepare them for fighting an alien fleet. All systems ready, reported Michelle Davis, the weapons officer. Her hands moved steadily over the controls despite the pressure. Defense network connected, another crew member called out. In the weeks of preparation, they had linked the Phoenix to Earth's satellite system, creating a web that could channel energy from multiple points. Ryan looked at his display. The Vorax ships would be in firing range in less than 10 minutes. "This is Phoenix to command," he said into his headset. "We're in position, awaiting orders." General Bennett's voice came through clearly. "Phoenix, you are cleared to engage when ready. Remember, target the command ship if possible." The Vorax didn't wait. When they reached attack position, all 6 warships fired simultaneously. Beams of intense red energy shot toward Earth's atmosphere. The Phoenix moved to intercept, its hull directly in the path of the attack. The impact was tremendous. The energy beams struck the Phoenix's hull and spread across its surface like liquid fire. Warning alarms blared throughout the ship as systems struggled to handle the massive power surge. "Hull temperature rising," shouted an engineer. "Structural integrity at 82% and falling." Ryan gripped his chair. "Stay calm. This is what the Phoenix was designed for. Channel the energy to the core." Michelle worked her controls, directing the absorbed energy into the ship's modified core. The blue glow at the heart of the Phoenix grew brighter, pulsing faster as it took in more power. "Core capacity at 60%, she reported. 70%, 80%. Suddenly, a section of the hull overloaded. Metal twisted and warped as energy surged through it in uncontrolled waves. "We're losing Section 4, called out an engineer. "Rerouting power." On Earth, millions watched the battle through telescope images. The Phoenix looked like a small star, glowing brighter and brighter as it absorbed the Vorax attack. Few dared to hope it would survive. Inside the Phoenix, the temperature rose to dangerous levels. Equipment sparked and failed. 3 crew members were injured when a control panel exploded. "Core capacity at 95%, Michelle reported, wiping sweat from her forehead. "We can't take much more." Ryan made a quick decision. "We're not going to get a better chance. Fire now." Michelle activated the weapon system. The Phoenix shuddered as the accumulated energy flowed back through its modified systems. The space-time fold in the core expanded, multiplying the power exponentially. A beam of blinding white light erupted from the front of the ship, cutting through space toward the Vorax command vessel. The alien ship's shields flared purple as they tried to block the attack. For a few seconds they held. Then, with a flash visible from Earth, the shields collapsed. The Phoenix's energy beam struck the command ship directly, cutting through its hull. The massive Vorax vessel split apart, secondary explosions rippling across its surface. Inside, its command systems failed, sending corrupted signals to the other ships in the fleet. The remaining Vorax warships suddenly moved erratically. 2 collided, their formations broken, their weapons went. 3 months after the battle, Earth was still celebrating its victory. The Phoenix crew had become heroes, their names known across the world. Captain Ryan Brooks and his team had survived, rescued just before their damaged ship fell apart. The remains of the Phoenix were now kept in a special museum, visited by thousands each day. But the victory had brought more than just safety. The defeat of the Vorax had sent shockwaves through the galaxy. For decades, the Vorax Empire had seemed unstoppable, conquering one civilization after another. Now word spread through space that a previously unknown species had destroyed their fleet. One sunny morning, Earth's deep space listening stations picked up a signal. It was not like the harsh commands of the Vorax. This message was different, sent on frequencies similar to those used by the Meridani. Scientists worked for days to translate it. When they finally succeeded, the message was simple. "We wish to speak with those who defeated the Vorax." 2 weeks later, a ship entered Earth's solar system. Unlike the Vorax vessels, it announced its presence peacefully and asked permission to approach. The ship belonged to the Tellarans, a species that had been fighting the Vorax for generations. In a historic meeting at the United Nations, the Tellaran ambassador, a tall being with silvery skin, addressed Earth's leaders. For too long, the Vorax have spread fear across the stars, the ambassador said through a translation device. Many civilizations have fallen to them. But you, humans, have done what none thought possible. You turned their strength against them. More alien visitors followed. The Jovians, with their 4 arms and wise eyes, the Nereids, who lived mostly in water, the Centauri, who communicated through colored lights on their skin. All had suffered under Vorax rule or lived in fear of their expansion. As Earth established relations with these species, scientists examined the data collected during the Phoenix's final battle. Though the weapon itself was destroyed, the principles behind it remained. Gary Taylor, an engineer who had worked on the Phoenix project, led a team developing new technologies based on what they had learned. The Meridani ship taught us how to fold spacetime, Gary explained during a presentation to world leaders, but we improved on it. The energy redirection system we created is entirely new. Neither the Meridani nor the Vorax had anything like it. Diplomat Nicole White was chosen to represent Earth in the newly formed Galactic Council, where species from 27 star systems now met to discuss mutual concerns. The Vorax Empire is fragmented but not destroyed, she reported after her first council meeting. With their command ship gone, many conquered worlds have rebelled, but some Vorax forces remain dangerous. Earth took its place among the spacefaring civilizations. The technology developed from the Phoenix project allowed humans to build their first faster-than-light ships. These vessels used the same space-time, fold principles to travel between stars in days rather than centuries. 1 year after the battle, Earth launched its first diplomatic mission to another star system. The ship was named Meridani, in honor of the aliens whose crashed vessel had made it all possible. As the Meridani prepared for its maiden voyage, Captain Ryan Brooks stood on the bridge. He had been given command of the new ship, with several of his Phoenix crew joining him. "It's hard to believe," he said to Michelle Davis, now his first officer. "A year ago, we were fighting for our survival. Now we're heading out to the stars." Michelle nodded. The Vorax thought they found an easy target. Instead, they gave us the tools to join the galaxy. As the Meridani left Earth's orbit, its engines created a small fold in space-time, similar to the one that had powered the Phoenix. But this fold wasn't used to absorb and redirect energy. It opened a path to the stars, carrying humanity outward, into a vast community of worlds they never knew existed. The broken alien ship, intended as a refugee vessel, had transformed humanity's destiny. And somewhere in the vast reaches of space, the remaining Vorax forces learned a valuable lesson. Never underestimate a species that can turn your own strength against you, silent as they lost connection to their central command. The Phoenix had succeeded, but at great cost. Its systems were failing. Parts of the hull had melted completely. The core was destabilizing, the space-time fold collapsing. "We did it," Ryan said quietly, looking at the drifting remains of the Vorax command ship. "Earth is safe." As rescue, ships raced toward the damaged Phoenix. The surviving Vorax vessels began to retreat, moving away from Earth at increasing speed. For the first time in their long history of conquest, the Vorax had been defeated.